Hi, everyone. Welcome to this call tonight. I am Devette. I'm a Christian numerologist and relationship coach. And being a spiritual entrepreneur, I know that we all have very unique gifts and talents and perspectives. And it's really important that we get to hear from each other and learn from each other. So I thought it would be a great idea to spotlight some really amazing people that have just some knowledge and some golden nuggets that they can share with people out there, and just give us information that we can grow and learn from. So I am completely excited to interview Beata today, and I've known Beata for a little while now, and I'm so fascinated about what you do. I think it's so beautiful. You are a holistic integrative doctor of physical therapy, right? And so I've known you more in the sense of definitely the holistic and being a mother, and also breastfeeding, which is so important at the beginning of life. So your message is incredible and wonderful for new mothers out there, or breastfeeding mothers who are even transitioning to weaning the baby off and what's next for them. So I can't wait to hear more about that. So yeah, if you want to just tell us who you are, what you do, what got you started, all the good stuff.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction to that. And I'm so honored to be here with you and to talk with you. And definitely, it's been a journey for sure. So, like you mentioned, I'm a holistic and integrative doctor of physical therapy. And back in 2017, my daughter was born and experienced colic and eczema, reflux, food allergies through my breast milk. And honestly, I felt really lost and alone. Our medical providers were not able to help us. And the solution that they had was just go dairy free, because they thought it was dairy through my breast milk that she was having reactions to. And then I was just kind of left to hang at that point, and then said, oh, we'll just go to formula if things aren't getting better. And all the while, when someone says just go dairy free, it's not just dairy. It's a lot more challenging than it sounds when you're on an elimination diet, and especially when you're a sleep deprived new mom who is stressed and overwhelmed as it is, plus having a child who doesn't feel good. So it was just everything compounding at once. And it was a really challenging time. My anxiety was spiraling out of control. And what I recognized is that I didn't have support around me. So family, friends were not understanding of my diet choices, why I was doing it. And ultimately, my daughter didn't feel good the majority of the time. So having a trace amount would give her a reaction for up to 2 weeks. And when she wasn't sleeping for those 2 weeks, you could imagine the dark nights, just sitting there crying, holding her. And the only thing she wanted to do is just be latched on and breastfeed. And it was extremely challenging, because as a mom, you're the world to that little baby. And when the only thing that they literally want, and the only thing that will make them feel better, is you, the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And when you don't have support, I mean, your whole experience is not fun, to say the least.
To say the least.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was able to come out of that by finally essentially tapping into my intuition. That is what really saved us ultimately. And that's been a huge focus of the coaching that I do with breastfeeding moms, because I think all women, we intuitively know what's best for ourselves and our children or our loved ones. And a lot of it is culturally, as a collective, we've been taught not to trust ourselves. We've been taught to look to other people, to other providers, to other practitioners, to other authority for the answers, because they have the knowledge. And really, I believe that we do deep inside. But it's accessing it, tapping into it, and then trusting it, which are some of the obstacles that many come across. I've worked with many moms who just feel like they don't have any intuition, like they just have no clue, they don't know. And that's okay if that may resonate with some of our viewers watching today, because that is a sign that your nervous system is in dysregulation. And what we can do is, by doing really simple strategies and techniques and a certain framework that I work through, you can actually start accessing that and start being in tune with that intuition, with your body, with your needs, with your child's needs. And that's been really massive in our healing process, because my daughter was one of the most sensitive ones. So we were literally down to eating 2 ingredients for months at a time, so that she could thrive, essentially, so that she could stop screaming, so that she would actually sleep. And if there are moms who are watching this who are going through this, my heart goes out to you, because I know how challenging that is. And I also want you to know that there is hope, and that there are things that you can do to help your child heal, to get more food back in your life, to, again, get that intuition going, because again, there's Mama Bear in there, and she knows what's best. Have you ever experienced some of that? Or maybe not the food issues, but as a mother and a grandmother now, right, where your intuition kicks in about certain choices for your children or grandchildren?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's amazing that you bring that up in women, because that's so true. Like, internally, we do have this like inner voice that's giving us clues and telling us things that it's a feeling inside. It's not something that anybody else can really tell you. Doctors I know have they have the knowledge of the basics of things that are it's valuable and it's important, but ultimately I have felt that for my daughters, when I was breastfeeding them, when they were babies, and they were growing, and there were nights that they were crying, and I didn't know what, and they can't talk, so they can't tell you, and it's so like heartbreaking, because you want them to be okay, and they're crying, and it's hard to figure it out, and it's stressful for you, it's stressful for the baby, because I know they're picking up on your stress and frustration. And yeah, I remember feeling like that, and as a mom, it's heartbreaking. Like you said, that baby, you're its life, you're its food, you're its everything. And as a mom, it's heartbreaking when you can't give them what they need, and fix it for them. So yeah, and I've known a lot of other young moms as well that have gone through that. Luckily, my daughters didn't have colic, but there were sick nights, or nights where we just couldn't figure it out. And maybe it was a stomach ache or something I ate, and I never knew. But internally, if you really stop and check in, and really just stop right for a minute and just really check in, you kind of start figuring out, like, or maybe it's this, or maybe they need that, and your mind, you start kind of feeling that. Yeah. So so how did you like get into really figuring out that it's like the intuition, and helping other moms really tap into that too?
Yeah, and it happened by mistake, honestly.
Okay.
And it started really when the pediatrician was starting to push formula on us. And everything in my body, everything in my heart was screaming, no, you need to keep breastfeeding. And I didn't know it at the time. It didn't make logical sense at the time, because for many, it sounds like formula would be a great option, something easier, something that, may help her feel better, etc. And ultimately, she is one of the most sensitive ones, that she wouldn't have been able to tolerate any of the commercial formulas. So that we found out years later, right? Now, nothing logically made sense at that point, but that was my first time that I can pinpoint, like, I was really following my intuition there, because everyone was saying, just go to formula, just give her formula. And literally everything in my being was screaming, no, keep breastfeeding. And quite honestly, I really think she could have been a failure to thrive if we did go down that route, and I lost my milk supply at that point. So I am so, so grateful that I did listen to that.
Yeah.
And then as I went on, there were just little things. So one of the things I do want to mention, if someone is resonating with the story, is that it's not always food related. So there are various underlying root causes that can create the colic, eczema, reflux, food allergies, all the signs and symptoms that you're seeing. And when you go on Dr. Google, which is what I did and what most moms do, right? You see, eliminate this food, eliminate that food. It's not always food related. So what I do is I really go through a thorough evaluation and assessment process to rule out some of the easier root causes. Because why make your life more stressful as a new mom, as a breastfeeding mom, if you don't have to? And that's honestly one of the biggest things I do on my consultations, is I help moms not avoid or not eliminate food from their diet if they don't
Yeah.
need to, because
Yeah.
that's such a missing piece and no one really talks about it. And I haven't been able to find anyone else who offers this kind of service to be able to rule out other things so that you don't have to go down this stressful journey if you don't
Yeah.
need to. And
Yeah.
so one of our factors was a lactation related piece, so a structural piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things that I saw 4 lactation consultants in the hospital after my daughter's birth. All of them said, no, she's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And the entire time I had that in the back of my head. So even though I was seeing some things on Google and in the Facebook groups, etc., I was ignoring it because I had those lactation consultants' words in my head. And then finally, something after she turned 1, around 13 months, something switched in me. And I was like, why haven't I looked into this? Why haven't I pursued this? She's not getting better. Her reflux is still bad. She's still arching her back. She's spitting up a ton. And I finally went and saw someone called an IBCLC, which is an international board certified lactation consultant. So these are
Okay.
like the highest trained level, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And right away, she was like, yeah, there's a lot of signs and symptoms that there's something going on structurally. We scheduled an appointment with someone called a preferred provider, had a surgical release done 2 months later. All of a sudden, magically, her reflux got better. So something that I was killing myself, taking out this food, taking out that food, limiting myself, making my life so stressful. Finally, when my intuition kicked in, my life just got so much better because we actually addressed the actual root cause. I wasn't going down this like blind path of like trying just random things. We were actually getting an assessment evaluation. So that was a huge turning point because all of a sudden baby's feeling better. We're sleeping more. I can think clearly,
Wow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes such a big difference in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it really just snowballed. I really started trusting myself. I really started listening to that intuition. I did a lot of mindfulness work, meditation work, awareness. And since then, I've been training in it and doing further training, especially on the energy work and spiritual health side of things, because that can actually be underlying root causes as well. Just like you mentioned earlier, mom's stress, mom's anxiety plays off onto our children. Our children can sense that, especially little ones. They are so sensitive. They pick it all up, even if you aren't aware of it. So our emotional states, our energetic states have a direct effect on their health and their composition and their well-being as well. So that's something that isn't talked a lot about a lot, but is so crucial on the healing journey as well.
Yeah, you never hear about that, the energetic kind of side of it. I mean, they do pick up on they can tell when we're stressed or we're angry or we're sad. They feel it, they know it. And people also don't really talk a lot about when you're pregnant and you're feeling that stress. I was a young mom. I was 18 when I had my first daughter, and it was I would say not a good relationship with, her dad. And so there was a lot of like fighting and yelling and arguing and stuff. And I had no idea back then, but, now thinking back, she must have felt that, like she must have, in a sense, felt that energy and, it affecting her. She suffered from like earaches. Maybe she was hearing it.
Yeah.
She suffered from some of those things that people don't tie in, the two things. And like now what you're doing, being able to bring something different that it makes complete sense. Are you finding that moms are open and receptive to that, or are they still like, that sounds weird? Or
Yeah, so what I've found is that the moms that have young babies and are in the thick of it, right? Essentially, and I was there as well, we're in a survival state. So it's challenging because mom sometimes feels like she can't take care of herself at all because all of the effort and energy is going towards helping baby. So that has been a challenge. And what I've found is that moms are typically ready for me to work with me about a year after. So when their child's a little older. And what I've discovered is that this process that I teach, which is really nervous system regulation, gut health, making sure we're identifying and addressing root causes, and then essentially accessing your divine intuition, learning how to really tap into that. This process can be used for all health concerns, disorders, diseases, etc. So it's one of the things that I'm still able to support the breastfeeding moms and the moms in that place. And it's kind of a subspecialty that I have. And at the same time, I realized that I was playing it small, right? Because this message is so important for millions of women out in the world that are ready to reclaim their power, that are ready to reclaim their innate knowing, to really step into, I call it this goddess self, right? This higher self that we have, and to be able to have this access from within and be able to reclaim ourselves, our loved ones, and really ultimately make decisions from what feels best to us. And not in the sense of like an emotional fleeting moment, right? Because we can make all sorts of decisions in the moment of an emotion,
right?
But with a connection to the divine, with connection to God, creator, source, the universe, and be able to really tap into that all-knowing wisdom that we all have. So that is my real mission now, is to really spread this to all women, anyone who's, struggling with any health conditions, and even things like excess weight that won't come off. There's so many, again, energetic, emotional components that may be underlying root causes. And when we start tapping into that intuition, it literally happens like magic. Synchronicity occurs, things flow, things work for you, because it's not like there's so many people on protocols and supplements and diets. It's not that those things may not be good for you. It may be that they're not aligned with what your system needs in the moment. And is your system open to receiving it in the moment? Or is there resistance? Are there emotional and energetic blocks, right? So that's kind of the overall picture with what I really hope to support more and more women with at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's so important what you do, because we're stepping into an age where we're kind of already in it a little bit, where people are more aware of energy. Everything's energy. I think I'm freezing here a little bit, but everything's energy, and they don't really know exactly what that means, or like how to work with it. So they have this concept, and meditation and things like that are becoming more popular, and it's amazing to just stop and get connected, get grounded. But it's really important to work with somebody like you who knows how to go through the process, because it sounds like there's a lot of trial and error. And you can just kind of help them get over all of that and just get right to the issue. I mean, because it's wasted time, right?
Well,
like
that's exactly it. I mean, I just
Yeah.
recently connected with a mom who, she's seen the gut health specialist, she's seen the naturopath, she's seen the allergist, she's seen so many specialists. So if you look at that time wasted, supplements waste, time, effort, money wasted in supplements, diets, protocols, and she's still not seeing improvement. And, the reason is, I believe, one of three things. So either there's not a root cause that's being addressed. So there's something that's not identified, that's not being addressed, that is key in the presentation. Two is her nervous system is likely not in a receiving state. It's in dysregulation. So whatever she's trying, it may not be landing. It may not be doing anything. And that's the thing. Once that nervous system is regulated, then the supplements, then the diets, then the protocols can actually do what they're supposed to do. And then three, again, like the intuition piece, because these doctors that she's seen, they've all had just generic blueprints. So they give this blueprint to every one of their patients. Now, their blueprint may not be what you need, right? Your blueprint may be different. Your blueprint is unique. Everyone's blueprint is unique. So if you're just following a generic blueprint, wonderful. This gut health protocol may sound fantastic, and it may work for 1,000 other people or 5,000 other people. But if your blueprint needs something else, it's not going to work. And that's where the intuition piece is, where it comes in, because you can know, all right, do I need to modify this? Do I need to tweak this? Do I need this extra supplement? How much of the supplement do I need? And again, that's where the power is. That's where the magic is. When when you can access that and know what your body actually needs, what your child actually needs, instead of just this generic, blueprint from someone else. because what worked for one person may not work for everyone else. And that's where many people end up, because they try so many things. And like you mentioned, it's just wasted time, money, and effort unless you have this knowing, this knowledge.
Yeah. And back to the time thing, I know I get it. People want to Google, and, they want to buy the books because it's free, right? So it's like, oh, I could just figure it out by myself. But it's that time again. You're wasting to save a couple of dollars when really it's not even worth it. You're going to end up there anyway, or in a worse situation if you some of these problems taken care of. Then people get so stuck on the money, which drives me a little crazy, because it's like money is always replenishable, right? But time isn't. So that money, it's always going to be replenished, and people get stuck on that while their child is suffering, or they're not sleeping, they're suffering too. When the child's suffering, everybody in the home's suffering. If the baby's crying and mom and dad aren't getting enough rest, and you have to go to work the next day, or you have to meet with other people, it affects everything. So it's absolutely not worth it to, to start, Google and look up some things. But if that doesn't work like in an instant, and you find, the quick cure, then instead of spending months and months of, just bring somebody in and get, the baby taken care of, and get life, situated, and kind of move on from that.
Definitely. And when you think of like your child's first year, or first 2 years, or first 3 years of life, you can never get that back. And it's one of those things that when I look back at my daughter's first 2 years, a part of me really hurts, because our experience was not ideal. And part of me wonders, what if I had information earlier? What if I was working with someone sooner? What if? And that's the thing, that time you can't get it back, especially when they're little. And it's such important time to cherish, and to be able to be present with them and enjoy it, and experience joy when you're seeing them, developing and growing. And absolutely. And that's one of those things, is especially with Google or even Facebook groups, there's no system, there's no order. People just randomly throw things out, and you may find a piece of information there, a piece of information there. And that's, you mentioned it, like you can actually be going backwards by trying certain things out of order or not at the right time. And that's one of the things that I really strive for, is creating something. My framework is really step by step, so you don't miss anything. So you're not like skipping over things, but you're also not going too fast either, because we jumped way too fast with my daughter and tried all sorts of things that were actually more harmful than beneficial, because we were going so far out of order. And it just created, like you mentioned, so much stress. It put stress on relationships, family, friends. It was, the experience was not ideal because of that. So absolutely, that time is so precious, especially when they're little.
Yeah, that time is so precious. And parents are trying their hardest. They're trying to do the best that they can. And, ultimately, I think the one suffering the most is the baby. They're the one in pain. They're the one that is having to feel the worst brunt of it all. And, I think we'd all agree that that baby would rather be just completely taken care of sooner than later. Instead of trying all these things, it's just like meeting with an expert, getting to the root of it immediately. And the first year is, that's when they're crawling. That's when they're starting to, try to say words and doing funny, cute things that, usually the family's laughing and watching them. And to have to go through that for, the whole first year for them. And then, the family, the relationships that, where I live, we live in a huge apartment complex here in Newport, and we've been here like over 20 years, but we moved from one apartment to another one. And and it's literally like right across. But when we were in the first apartment, the neighbor that I still have now, that baby would scream and
Mhm.
scream all night. We knew like it was colic or something, and it would be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And
Oh yeah.
it was just heart-wrenching because you know that they're, up at 2 in the morning, they want to be sleeping and they're bouncing the baby
Mhm.
around and probably snapping at each other. And it, the cries would wake me up because I'm like,
Right.
what is happening? And just to think of
Right.
that pain that the baby's going through and stuff,
Exactly.
that's hard. Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
what is your ideal client? Like what maybe are the symptoms that
Mhm.
the parent would kind of be looking for to know that you're the right person to help them through that? Maybe
Yeah.
age, or what does that look like?
Right. So again, kind of, I'm widening my scope at this point. So initially, it was babies and toddlers who were breastfed or who even weren't breastfed, but did have signs and symptoms of colic, eczema, reflux, food allergies. And the same root causes, the underlying reasons for those signs and symptoms are really universal to so many things. So now I want to serve all women, and especially women who are experiencing chronic fatigue, chronic pain, autoimmune conditions, digestive disorders, IBS, IBD, skin conditions, psoriasis, eczema. These are food allergies as well, even in adults, right? Because
Yeah.
there are underlying root causes that are really, it's the same, and it's actually more challenging and more complex when it is a breastfeeding relationship because you're dealing with two people instead of one.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Yeah.
actually easier to work with just a woman who isn't breastfeeding, or
Yeah.
um, who isn't with in a diet with a child. So the same process applies, the same framework applies. And that's again where my mission now is to serve as many women as I can who will benefit from it. And really, my ideal client has to be open to the concepts of spirituality and energy work, because that is such a crucial piece of the framework and the coaching, especially the divine intuition work. So, I would love to work with really soulful clients, um, people who are open to new concepts and who really kind of have a connection to their soul. Maybe that intuition isn't quite there, but someone who really feels that there's more to us than just our physical being, someone who's
Mhm.
open to alternative integrative practices as well.
Awesome. I love that. So you started off with your child that was sick, and that kind of led you into figuring out how to get their colic or their sickness or their allergies or whatever they were struggling with. And that kind of led you into also taking care of the mom. So now
Right.
you're focused on, sounds like, I mean, the whole, but even if you're not a breastfeeding mom, but you're struggling with these symptoms, it's kind of the same type of theory or process, right? That you can help them to overcome as well.
Exactly.
Wow.
One of the things I didn't mention is that um, as a typical mom, I forget about myself, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
as my daughter was having these signs and symptoms, and as I worked through the process to help her, what I didn't realize is that I actually had underlying autoimmune conditions myself that
Mm.
I discovered through the process. So it
Oh,
was
wow.
actually a blessing in disguise because I was able to help myself by helping her. And so that was really one of the big aha moments, is that by helping my child, I was helping myself heal. And once I started really focusing on myself and my health, I saw her health exponentially improve as well. So
Wow.
it's that relationship as well. And that's why now I see that, like I didn't know that I had all of this brewing before my daughter was born. And I did have fatigue. I had all sorts of injuries. I had lots of digestive issues going on. And so that was one of the things that was, again, kind of this aha moment where there's so many women who may not be in this breastfeeding relationship, who may not have this as kind of their awakening like it was for me. However, they may still have these same health conditions, and they can still heal and accelerate their healing and
Mhm.
improve their health and wellness.
Oh, wow. I love that. It's so important what you're doing. I mean, just speaking
Thank
from
you.
being a mom, being a grandma, being a woman, just all of the above, that, everything that you said, it impacts all of us. And in the same way, I think when we're healing, we're helping our family heal, and the community, the people around us, right? The world, like when we are in a healed energy, healed place, we're operating better, we're giving better energy out versus taking medication, which I think kind of like slows your vibration. It kind of, I don't want to say, well, I'm just gonna say it anyways, but it kind of like dumbifies, like the mind goes slow, everything, it just kind of like brings you down.
There's side effects, absolutely.
Yeah. So like holistically being able to be in, connection, because that's how God made us anyways. Like, I mean, at the beginning, when God created the earth, he didn't create, Tylenol and, all these vitamins and antibiotics. And, he gave us everything that we need on this earth, whether it's the fruits and the vegetables and, the sunlight and stuff. And we've gotten so far away from that. There's just like medication. Everybody's so medicated.
Yes. And especially the intuition, I really believe it's a birthright of ours. I believe that, again, before all of this technology, before all of this, that humans had such a connection to God, creator, source, right? And that intuition was so strong. And as a culture and as a collective, we've lost that slowly with time. And so I believe it's time now to reclaim that, to step into our power and access that once more.
Yeah. Amen. And that sounds just coming exactly from a mama lion. A mama would know exactly what that means. Right? It is time. We're getting this together. We're not playing this anymore. Come on, let's go. I love it. That's so powerful. So anybody that wants to find you or reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you? And like, do you do like a consultation, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I have a website that has all my resources in one page. So it's just holisticdrbeata.com. Okay. So it's Beata, Beata, and then /resources. So those are all my resources on there. I also have a YouTube channel, so you can search Dr. Beata Harasim, Harasim is the last name.
Okay. And I'll put the links. When I upload this. Yeah, I'll put all the links there too. So
I have the fun Polish names, so spelling is always tricky.
I love it. That's funny.
So yes, those are probably the two best places to find me, and then on Facebook as well. Yes, I'm looking forward to the consultations. I do offer those so we can get an assessment, evaluate, and also see if this framework, if this process would be a good fit for you as well and your family.
Awesome. I love that. Well, I mean, I'll put all the links under this video on the YouTube once I get it uploaded. And I mean, I think any mom out there knows, just instinctively we understand our children, but we do have society, family, commercials, doctors, books telling us something a little different than what our intuition is. And it's really important to tap into that. Like you said, it is time to reclaim our gifts, our innate gifts, and help our children, help the world by being connected and being in our true authentic self. And I love that. I love the work that you're doing. I appreciate it. Yeah, so much. Just, being a grandma now, just seeing my daughter going through, sleepless nights sometimes, and it's hard. So yeah, you're doing a very amazing, beautiful work out there.
Thank you so much to that.
Yeah. So anybody that is looking for you, you'll see the links below, or reach out to me. I'll connect you with Beata, and I look forward to sending, people your way, and even, doing some more, interviews or whatever you have going on. I just want to make sure, promote you, get you out there. There's so many moms out there that they just don't know, where to do, where to go. So we need to get the word out there. So if you are looking, for help with whatever you're struggling with, or your baby struggling with, reach out to Beata, or if you know somebody that maybe it's not you, but maybe a sister or an aunt or a neighbor, a friend, coworker, whatever, that that they're struggling with something like this, that Beata would be able to be a help to, then do them a favor and get them the help they need. Just refer them over, and hopefully that'll give them some peaceful nights and a peaceful life. Time is not replenishable, and we need to make sure that we have quality time here while we are still alive.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
so, well, thank you so much, Beata, and to everybody watching, thank you. And leave a comment if you have any questions. We'll make sure Beata gets them and can answer them. But until then, we'll see you on the next episode. So
Yes. Thank you, Devette.
thank
Bye.
you.